Hello, Jennifer from Aster and Am with you today, and today we're going to be embellishing our Rory Satchel kit. Our Rory Satchel kit comes, looks like this, and it comes with all of these pieces. So I'll just have a look at what we get in our kit. So with all the pre-cut felt pieces, we have our long front and back piece. And this folds up and becomes our satchel, so it will end up being like that. We have a front facing, which is stitched on inside, and our side gusset pieces. And these have already got the darts already pre-stitched in them, so they're just ready to go to stitch straight in. We have some instructions, again with some images on those of the instructions. We have a magnetic closure, some strap attachers, and of course our crossbody strap. So today I'm going to embellish it with some kind of a Dresden plate inspired design that I have come up with. So the two pieces look like this, which are along the lines of a Dresden plate, but they're not exactly the same height, and that's deliberately done so that it will fit in a square on our Rory Satchel. So in order to prep, we need to fuse some repositionable stabilizer onto the back of our fabric and then cut out the pieces. With these I've chosen to use lots of spots and stripes. And with the stripes in particular, I always like to put the piece on the angle so that we're not doing vertical or horizontal either way, but we do something on the angle so that we've got an interesting looking stripe effect. So with these, we just need to trace around the shapes and then cut out all the pieces. I tend to do it this way with tracing around the shape, and I find that way I have good control over where I'm placing my shapes. And something like this, you can be economical with your cutting and have that line join on. And for this project, I've chosen to use the spots and the stripes from Tula Pink. I've got 4 different colours that I'm going to make I call it a boxed Dresden, my boxed Dresden with, and then we're going to do some quilting lines in it afterwards. Alright, so before we get started with putting on our pieces that we're going to embellish, because this one has been folded up and been in the packaging for a little while, we've got some creases in it here and also here. And I like to just iron these out with some spray starch. So I just use a little bit of spray starch just to get that area damp, and then just iron those creases out. Not a big deal having them there, but that's my personal preference, is to take them away so that when we do make it up at the end, we don't have any sort of funny bubbly bits or anything like that. Okay, so now that we've ironed out our creases, we can get started with putting on our embellishment pieces. I tend to, and this is me, my personal taste, I like to embellish the front and the back on my projects, because that is just my personal preference. I sometimes like to also do something with the front facing as well. So if you're doing something with one of our kits and you're a little unsure as about the stitches or anything like that, then it's always a good idea to do something with the facing, because you're not really going to see it terribly much anyway, and have a practice and do it that way. But we're going to get started, and I'm going to put some of my pieces on the front, and I'm also going to put some here on the back as well. So marking just down the center. Okay, as you can see, the best thing about using our kits is that you open it up and you can get started straight away. So no extra cutting or anything like that, because these are already pre-cut. You just open up and start embellishing. So just working our way around. The good thing about using a repositionable stabilizer is that you can move them around, so once they're on, they're not there for good. And lining all up. So I like using these nice big pieces here, so it gives us a nice space in order to put some extra stitching in and make a highlight of it. So that's that side ready to go. Before we start stitching though, I will pop it on because I want to do the reverse. So when we look at our bag, it's going to look the same around. Hopefully that makes sense. But now this time around, on this side, our strap attachments are going to be stitched on around about here, and our side gussets start at this indentation here, and so we're going to want to bring this up a little higher. So this is where it's going to start to curve. So I'm happy to have, yes, my pieces in that position. So I'm happy with that. I mentioned earlier about having a practice on the facing, and I'm going to do that as well with this one, because I chose lots of colours for this project, but I want to put the yellow in the centre, and I had lots of yellow pieces, so I thought a good place to have a practice is here. And if you're unsure, so when we do our stitching, we can always have a practice on here as well. So you can see the pattern or the design actually looks pretty impressive just in one single colour as well. But that's our shapes ready to go. Now we're going to get set up and start our stitching. Right, we're almost ready to start stitching, and for this project I have chosen to use Fabulux thread. This is a 40 weight tri-lobal polyester thread, so it's got a nice luster to it. But the big thing is it has all these gorgeous neon colours which match perfectly with our project that we have here. So I'm going to start off with the yellow. So I'll open up this box and let's see, these colours are just divine. I love them personally. Okay, so now we're going to start stitching our pieces on. I'm starting with the green section first, and I have the machine set for a blanket stitch, and I'm doing it 4mm by 3mm. So 3 in width and 4 in the depth. It's like, just take care when you get to the corners and when we are pivoting. There we go. And when I get to this end here, I like to just turn around and go back the same way. So now we have one little section done, so I'll move on and do the next section here before changing to each colour and doing each of those blocks. So you see it's looking quite effective so far, and that's the idea. Then we'll come back later and do some more quilting inside. Okay, so I'm just going on to the pink color now, and just a word of advice with starting on the back side, that you make sure that you keep the pocket facing up so that it is away from your work and that you don't accidentally stitch through it. So I'm working my way through each of these color blocks, and you can see the thread is really coming along and it's looking great standing out. Alright, so everyone, after we have finished embellishing, we've stitched on our front and back, and you can see it's going to end up looking like that. So we have the front and the back, and I have actually stitched the front facing as well, so this will be stitched on in here. And these are the facing is always a good one to embellish as well, because you can have a little practice with doing some other things on there too. And one of the things that I'm planning on doing here, or we're going to do, is I have this template for a quilting design that we're going to stitch on here. And I have used WonderFil's product called a rinse away design sheet, and these can be popped through your printer. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting it out, and then I'm going to peel this off and then stick it onto my applique here. And that is now going to give us some lines that we can quilt on. So I've got my machine set up now, and I'm using a triple stitch. And a triple stitch is one where it goes forward and then back, forward, then back, forward, then back. And it actually gives a nice build up of thread and makes it stand out really well. So that's the stitch that I want to use here. So, and I've got my sheet on here. And this one, it's a good one to practice with first with doing just the one color. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch along and then work around so that we are doing it all in one continuous line rather than coming up and stopping and starting. So our plan is to come up and work our way around and do it so that we can keep going in one continuous line. And there we are, so you can see now we're back where we started from, and I haven't taken stop and started at all, and we're just able to do that all in one move. So I'll keep going and we'll just keep working our way around. This one, if you have a go at doing it first on the facing, it's a really good practice. Get into the rhythm and groove of doing it, and we'll be creating some nice quilting lines in no time. Okay, so now that we've got our design sheet stuck onto our pieces, we can now start to quilt through these lines that we've got here and really get some thread and some really pop action happening here. The best way to do this, because we want to try and keep it in as a single line or one continuous piece of stitching, rather than doing here and stopping and then starting again and doing another section. So we're going to try and do it all in one go. So follow me, have a look, and we'll get started, and you can see which way I go. And I am using the triple stitch because I really want to have the thread stand out. And once we take away the design sheet, you'll really see that the stitching through the fabric and then into the felt, we get a really nice kind of definition in there. And the triple stitch just stands out nicely. Okay. We don't have the design sheet that goes all the way to the edge, so we're just stitching along the edge of it there. It's really easy following these lines. You could, of course, do your own thing and do some free motion quilting in there, but if you're unsure as to what to do, this is a great way of getting some nice straight lines. And let's have a look. So look at that, that looks amazing. So once we wash away this little bit here, we'll be able to just really see the thread coming through onto the fabric. And that gives us some really nice, you know, definition there. So one colour done, 3 more to go. Okay, look at that. There we are, all stitched out. So on the front and the back, I've done my quilting lines on both sides. Still got a little bit to do, so the next step is to wash this away, and then we need to come back and put our circle on in the centre. Okay, so we have done, washed away our design sheet, and we're looking pretty good, I've got to say. I'm very happy with how this has worked out. I do find that we need to give it a little bit of a press. So I've ironed this one here, and this piece here is unironed, so we'll give that a little bit of an iron. I have embellished the front facing as well. Yep, it will be stitched on there. A little bit to do. I'm just going to sew on that circle there, and I've decided to not put a circle over the top of these. I actually really like how they're looking, and I'm loving this colour wheel thing that we've got going on, so really like that. So I'll give this an iron. Just going to start from the back side, a little bit of a press there, and then we'll do the front. Keep in mind, like as I have mentioned earlier, like any time when we've got some creases, that a little bit of spray starch, pop it in there, and that just takes away any of those creases. You don't have to, but that's something that I prefer to do, just so then I've got this really nice flat surface and no sort of predefined crease where anything is going to fold. We don't really need to have the spray starch on here, but that's just a personal taste if you want to do that. But it does iron out nicely, and really loving the thread from having used the triple stitch on there. That stands out really nicely. So as you can see, that's the fun part, doing the embellishing. But our construction now is still really quite simple. I mentioned we need to just finish off the facing. After that, it is stitching on half of our closure. So we'll get that done. And once we've got that done, we will work out where we go here. So we'll pin our side gussets into place, but we'll come back to that. Then I'm just going to get this ready, and we'll stitch this one into place, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, so I have stitched on my one half of the magnetic closure. Now I'm going to show you about stitching on the second one. In order to do that, I'll place the magnetic, the other side, on to there, and I'm just going to roughly pin this facing into place, because that just helps us with where we're placing the other side. So just three little pins. Keep in mind too that, you know, I know we have washed this one. If we've stretched it and put it in a little bit out of shape, you can still stretch the felt and just pull it and put it into place. So I think I might have done a little too much tugging on one side, but we can just stretch that out and fit it back in. another pin in here. And you, so you always know the start or the front facing how it fits in, because we have got these rounded edges. So that's there. And then how we marry this up is, you can see our front facing finishes there. The start of our side gusset starts here, and we have this indentation here is really for where the strap can come around, but that's our guide, that's our indentation there. So I'm just placing, and you can see I've got the 3 layers there, the bottom, the facing and the top there, just sitting that on top. I've got even on the other side, lifting up and then just holding that other part of the closure down, and we can pop a pin in and then we'll stitch that on. Now you can do these either by hand or by machine. My personal preference is by hand, but that really is just me. If you're going to do them by machine, then obviously a zipper foot so you can get around the magnet part of it. So I'm just going to come up from the top. That's just because how I like to do it. Come up from the top. That means then my tail will be under the closure, and we'll just all the way through. Okay, right, I have made it. So back to the other side. Tie it off, and then I like to just go through and bury that end so that we're looking quite neat there on the inside. So looking good there. You can see that's where our closure is just going to go. So next up is stitching on our strap attachments. Again, my preference is to do them by hand. You can do them by machine. If you're doing them by machine, definitely to make sure that you keep the pocket on the inside out of the way. So we've got the pocket line there, and I like to just have the holes, these couple of holes above. I'm really looking at where this indentation goes, and I like to have the eyelet, the top of the strap attachment kind of in that line there. We've got it away from our embellishing. So I've folded the pocket forward so it's out of my way, and just holding it on. We are allowing a bit of space here too, because that's where we'll be sewing in our side gusset. So we don't want it to be right there, because then we're going to be in the way. Same deal as before. Again, personal way of doing it. I like to come up from the top so that I don't have any thread underneath, and up, pulling a little bit taut. There. I'll go back under here, and I am just a little mindful of where my pocket is. Yeah, there. And I'm going to go back up to where that hole was, close to there, and now I'm taking the thread through. So we've travelled through this part of the attachment, travelled through there, So I'm now there, and just for strength I'm going to go part way through the felt, back out to the other side, pulling that there, traveling through the closure again, back. So I got that nice and tight, and now I will continue on with stitching on the closure. So I'm going down to that second hole, I come around up to the top one where it's a little tricky. It's not hard, just a little tricky. Tie it off and bury that tail. Get that away. And okay, looks kind of neat. One done, one more to go. Okay, so now we're back at the machine and we're just going to stitch around the center circle on the inside of the facing. As I said earlier, we've opted to not do the circle on this one, but the circle actually looks quite effective when we've just done the two, the stripe and the spot in the monochrome. So we'll stitch this one on. Doing the same thing with the blanket stitch again, just to pop it on. So we'll just cruise around here. I always find with going around a circle, you just gently move the fabric. We're not going super fast, but just ever so slowly. There is our facing done with the circle, and yeah, you can see it does look really quite effective. So I've decided that I want to do a little bit of stitching here in the background. I think I might just do just a few little lines just to fill in this background here. When you see some stitching lines in the background or straight into the felt, you get a really nice definition there. I'm going to do the triple stitch again, and I'm just starting at this indentation. Now this is purely what I would like to do. You don't have to do anything like this. I like to say that our kits are designed by us but made by you, so you do your thing. Now I was thinking that I might cut that thread off now, but I've decided I'm going to just pivot down here, and I'm going to go around the indentation that we've got here. Stitching around until we get to the other side. This is possibly something I should have done before I stitched on these closures and things, but you know, it's how things evolve. And now we'll just go across to the other side, keeping our strap attachment out of the way. And I'm thinking now that I'd like to go across to this other corner. I'll come back here, go back to that corner, and then stitch there again. Or do I need to do that first? No, we're going to do this corner first. So just keeping working out a way of just keeping the needle and the thread happening all at the same time without having a lot of you know, cutting and cutting our thread. So we'll go this way. So now we've just added in, oh, that looks good. It's just a little bit of stitching here in the top. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Right, I'm going to do a little bit now here on this side. I have marked, so we only want to do between here and here because our front fold over will come to here. So it's kind of good in a way that we've already put on our closure. So that really is as far as we want to take our stitching. This isn't going to be seen, only seen when you lift up your flap, but you know, if you wanted to do the whole thing, you certainly could. I'm going to do a similar kind of thing to what I've just done and just create a little bit of a box thing happening here. Okay, we will call that quits there, and now I'll just trim that up and then we'll get ready for sewing on our front facing. I've just been thinking as I've been stitching here, thinking, now what colour will we stitch the front facing on with? And because I've been doing the blue, I think I would like to continue with this blue line all the way around the front. So my facing, often depending on what I'm doing as to whether I stitch my facing on that way or that way, obviously we want to see our blue thread, so I'm going to stitch it this way. And I'm going to stick with the same triple stitch and do that all the way around so that this blue is really going to highlight and around our whole satchel. Get there. Okay, so I've taken away the machine so I can show you popping in the side gusset. And really, really simple. We are just marrying up the top of the side gusset with the top here, and we will do the same with this back side. So where we've got that indentation, we're just marrying up there, so get that in there. And I have found the easiest way for stitching these together is we're stitching the front and back piece onto the gusset, not gusset onto the front and back, so not up that way. It's easier to do it this way where we have the fabric going onto the gusset, and then we can move and manipulate this fabric around onto that gusset base that way. So our gusset bases, they have these gentle curves which I've designed that way so that they do just flow and ease around. So our final bit of construction, which you can see, this ain't going to take too long at all. So we'll get the machine. I'm just going to pin the one side for now, and we'll stitch that one into place. Okay, so I'm back at the machine now. I'm not going to do the triple stitch around the side, just going to do a regular straight stitch. And I have it on 2.75. So you can hear now we're going to match up with our stitching from before. And you can see I'm just folding over the body of our kit. So folding it out of the way, keeping it around the gusset. So just keep going around. Hey, and one side done. See, that was really easy, right? And look how good it looks. So yeah, really easy, and so I like to say the actual construction doesn't take too long. Okay, here we are. This is our Rory Satchel all complete. and I think it looks amazing. Loving how this looks. And there's with our facing, and we've got the nice blue stitching down the side. I think it's come up a treat. It looks fabulous, so very happy with that. Final thing to do is to take our crossbody strap and just attach on here. How easy, huh? So one Rory Satchel done with Fabulux. I'm totally loving these neon colours that we have used, and all that stitching in the background, so you can really see just that little bit of stitching there just gives it a nice little highlight. So Rory Satchel, and just before we finish up, I'll just show you a few other ideas that things that we've made with our Rory Satchel. This has been stenciled in the background, but with some applique. Again, another one with some stenciling in the background. We didn't do anything in the side gussets this time, but of course you can do that kind of thing as well. Same with this one. We have done some stitching in the side gussets, adding in some rickrack, all stitched together with glamour thread, so you kind of really have a lot of fun. And this one has been done on the overlocker, so this is done with a cover stitch. So lots of different things that you can do with our Rory Satchel bag. As you've seen, it's easy to do, and so have a go, do your own, and transform a plain bag into something special that reflects your own personal style. Now that you can see how easy it is to actually put them together. Just saying, as before, you spend the time doing the decorating, and then the actual construction is really, really simple. So don't forget, for more embellishing ideas and hints and tips and things, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So that's Aster and Anne, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and check out more videos on YouTube. And as always, do that like and subscribe thing. So until next time, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.